All right, Erev Tov Kulam Rabotai. We are this week Parashat Balak. One of my favorite Dever Torahs on the Parashat Balak is from the Apter Rav, who wrote a sefer called Ohev Yisrael. And the Apter Rav, he saw in every parasha about Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You have to love every person. That's why his sefer is called Ohev Yisrael, love the Jewish people. So one of his Hasidim came and said to him, Rebbe, where do you see it in Parashat Balak? Where do you have about Ohev Yisrael, Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha? Where do you have that? And the Rebbe told him, what do you mean? Don't you know the Rashi Tevot of Balak? If you take the word Balak, Balak is Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. So his Hasidim said, what are you talking about? Ve'ahavta is the Vav. This is a bit. Right? Okay, Lamed is Lamed, l'recha, Balak. But kamocha is a kaf, not a kuf. Right? Balak is with the kuf. So the Rebbe said, if you can look so carefully, you're never going to love another Jew. You have to not look so carefully. You have to sometimes not look so carefully. You're never going to love somebody. Right? If you're going to look so carefully, even in someone who looks very beautiful, the more closer you get and closer you look, you're going to see a lot of imperfections. That's the way it is. Yeah. Okay? Don't look too close. Don't come too close to the mirror. Stand a little bit far back. You're going to like yourself more. Okay? Because the closer you look, the more problems you're going to find. The Balak itself is Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Now, there's a bigger idea here. There's a famous story of the stone cutters. The 3 stone cutters. You ever heard the story? Let me give you the short version. One day, a traveler is walking down a lane, walking down a street, and he notices 3 people cutting stone cutters. So he walks over to the first one, and he asks them, he says to the first one, what are you doing? So the guy says, what do you mean? What do you think I'm doing? I'm cutting stone. He says, what are you doing? He says, I'm cutting stone, leave me alone. So he goes over to the second guy. He says to him, what are you doing? He says, I'm cutting stone, but I'm making it very nice and square. Making it, perfect. He says, but what? Why? What do you... I'm cutting stone, making it perfect. Leave me alone, he says. So he goes over to the third guy. He says to him, what are you doing? He says, me, I'm cutting stone to build a cathedral, to build a palace. Okay? What's the idea of the story? 3 people doing the exact same thing, but each one is seeing it differently. All right? One person says, I'm just cutting stone. One says, I'm making a nice stone. And one understands that he's building a cathedral, he's building a palace, he's building something huge. Right? It's the different perspective of how you see things. In this week's Parsha, Bilam, this prophet, right, that they say was maybe even more greater than Moshe Rabbeinu, whatever that means, okay, one of his issues is that he never opened his eyes. Okay, let me ask you, most of us drive cars? Okay, so let's say we're driving your car. Immediately driving your car starts talking to you and tells you, Rabbi Mordechai, what did you eat for breakfast today? Why did you eat this? You know it's not good for you. He starts giving you Mussar. Your car. What would you do?
Smoke comes off from my hand.
You run out of the car. It's possessed. Demon car, right? What's going on here?
But eventually it's going to happen.
Now think for 1 minute. Bilam is riding on his donkey. His donkey starts talking to him. He hears his donkey, and his donkey says, why are you hitting me? And what does Bilam start doing? No. He starts talking to him. Conversation. He's talking to him. Imagine your car is talking to you, and you say, hey, how you doing too? You're a nice guy. Oh, very nice.
And over than this.
Right?
Give you bigger advice.
They give you advice.
That you are a Bilam, that you run all the way. A donkey gives you, Baba, this is not the way.
You see, Bilam had a donkey speak to him, he doesn't even realize it. He's just talking like he's talking to anyone else. He doesn't see it. He's someone who messages are coming to him, but he doesn't get it. I'll take for the mashal on a totally different side, someone who sees something so small and understands so much from it. Rabbi Ephraim is walking outside, he's doing his nature walk, and he comes over to a stone. And he sees in the stone, there's a hole. What does Rabbi Ephraim do? He just walks past it. But we have a tzaddik in our life, his name is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva saw the same stone that Ephraim saw. But what did Rabbi Akiva do instead? He said, what? If a stone so hard could get a hole in it from water that keeps going, then me at 40 years old don't know Torah. If I start learning 111, it's going to make a Roshim. It's going to make a difference. All right? Two people, same stone. One just saw the stone with the hole, continued walking. But Rabbi Akiva sees something more. Right? One of the major stuff in life is, are you looking? Do you see? I once heard from a famous magician, they asked him, how do you do all these tricks? And you know what he said? He said, you know how I'm able to do these tricks? Because everybody who comes to my show wants to be fooled. Everyone that comes to my show wants to be tricked. So if everyone wants to be tricked, it's so easy to trick them. Right? Because they want to see tricks. Right? A lot of times in life, what happens is, we want to see something that we want to see. It's something that we expect. Right? So no matter what the other person tells you, you heard something entirely else. Right? This person just called you a fool, whatever, but you think something else. And, whatever you are thinking. I'll tell you, once I was in the shul, and there was this, one of the people in the shul, he loves correcting people. And when someone's reading, he always corrects. So I was in that shul a few times, and I heard him and the words that he corrects. So I memorized all them, and they gave me to read. I read it the way he wanted. But guess what? Even though I read it the way he wanted, he still jumped up. He said, Kochahi. Right? He kept saying the same word that I just said. Why? Because to him, he wants to hear the mistake. So no matter you read it right or wrong, he's still going to scream at you. But there's people. Bil'am, he wanted the money. He wanted the silver. He hated the Jews. So no matter what message he gets, he continues to go. It's blind ambition. He just continues to go. It's blinding his eyes. He cannot see right. In fact, at the end, the Parsha tells us that Bil'am went back to his place. What does that mean? That means after everything Bil'am saw, how Hashem saves the Jews, loves the Jews, make him bless them instead, he went back to be the same Bil'am he was. He had nothing that he gained from that experience because he never saw anything. Even though everything was happening right in front of him, and any other sane person would have gotten something out of it, not Bil'am. Because he was so zoned into what he wanted to see that he saw nothing else. And we see this in another place in the Parasha as well, in the same scene.
He doesn't want it to change.
Exactly. He doesn't want. And when you don't want something, you can't see something because you want to believe something else. Right? And some people, you tell them you can't do this. Here comes the story. I will tell you. The Parasha tells us that when Bil'am is riding on the donkey, Hashem sends a malach, right? What type of malach is it? What does the parasha say? No? V'yitatzev malach Hashem b'derech l'satan lo. What does it mean, Satan? Satan is a bad, right? Rashi says, what's this malach Satan? Malach shel rachamim. It was an angel of mercy. Why? And it came with its fiery sword. It's trying to stop him. Says Rav Pam, he says in life, things are not what they appear. What you see may not actually be what's there. What? He gives an example. Some people go into shidduchim, and they think it could be the girl to the boy to the girl. But we'll use the example of boy to a girl. Boy finds this girl. She's very beautiful. Everything he wanted. Ka'ilu, as if he thinks he knows what he wants. And he thinks that's the one. She doesn't want. Her father doesn't want. Nobody wants. It's not even good for him. But he wants it. Right? And sometimes Hashem loves this guy, so he makes it not work out. He makes it, the uncle gets upset, this guy gets upset. And instead of letting it go and realizing that Hashem knows this is not for him, keeps pushing at it. He keeps pushing at it. And that's very wrong. Says Rav Pam, sometimes it looks like a Satan is coming at you, but you should know that it is a Malach Rachamim. Because maybe with that woman, you cannot have kids. Maybe she's going to make your life a living Gehenna. And it's not for you. What do you know? What do I know? We don't know. We have to do our hishtaldut. We have to do what we have to do. But at some point, when Eliezer went to find the shidduch for Yitzchak, right? And Lavan was saying, I don't know if she can go, paradam. You know what Eliezer said? Even all these miracles happened already. The girl came, the water came up. Eliezer said, tell me yes or no. Because if not, I'll go to Ishmael, I'll go somewhere else, but I won't come here, right? What do you mean you won't come? You waited so long, all these miracles happened. Right? The water came up, if God came, everything you prayed for, and now you're about to walk away? And says Rav Pam, yes. Because if it doesn't work out, and you see it's not working out, and there's a pushback, then maybe it's not supposed to be. So get out of there. Rav Pam himself said that when he got older, he was looking for a job. When he just got out of yeshiva, he's cold, he got married. And one of the things that Rav Pam, he taught himself English, and he also taught himself Spanish. Mm-hmm. And he was a very good translator. He wanted to get a job in the court, in the courthouse, to be a translator. In fact, Rav Pam said that there was this book, a Spanish book, there's this book, famous book by, it's called Don Quiux or something like that. And Rav Pam said he read it himself in Spanish, in the original Spanish. So he was very good in Spanish. He taught it himself. He wanted to get the job. He says he came to the courthouse to get the job, and he applied for the job. And he did very well. But someone's friend also came, one of the people who worked there. And they pushed them through. And Rav Pam didn't get the job. And he was so upset. But he says, after he didn't get the job, a couple of months later, he got a job in the yeshiva. And he ended up becoming a Rosh Yeshiva. And he said, I would have got a job at the courthouse, I would never become a Rosh Yeshiva. Right? So it looked like a Satan. He needed money. He didn't get it. But then that actually helped him to get where he needed to get. Right? And become the person he was supposed to be. Because we don't really know what we see. We see one thing, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees better. And I'll end off with this last, it's in business and everything, but I'll end off with this last story. It's a famous story, but there was this family. They went to Halamoyed Sukkot, they went to the Galil, and there was two girls. They were walking, and there was a couple of bad boys in the town. They started messing with these girls. And these girls started running, and one yeshiva boy saw what was going on, and he came over, and he started fighting with these boys, and he sent the girls away. And while he was fighting with these boys, they beat him up so badly, they even scratched his face from eye to chin. And he had a big scar on his face. Fast forward, years later, this boy is trying to date and get married, and it's very hard. Imagine someone has a big scar on his face, everyone's looking at his scar, right? He goes out with one girl, and the girl likes the boy. She's very nice and everything, but she can't get past the scar. And he sees she's always looking at the scar, so he says to her, is everything okay? She says, listen, I really like you, nice guy, but tell me, what's with the scar? He says, listen, I know the scar's giving me a big issue, and I really wish I never had it. But many years ago, and I'm not a wild guy, he says, many years ago, I was outside, and I saw what was going on. Two Jewish girls, these Arabs were messing with her, whatever it was. So I went to protect them. And because of that, I got the scar on the face. And she says, what? She says, yeah. She says, when was it? What year? What that? She says, well, this is insane. She says, why? She says, that was me. That was me and my sister. You saved us, right? And it turned out that they got married and they were the right ones. And why did Hashem put the scar on him? Why? For him to meet her, so they would get married together because they were supposed to be together. We think one thing, Hashem has the other thing. So I think that the big lesson from Parshat Balak is, don't look too well. Know that Hashem sees better. Train your eyes. Try to see a little bit better. Try to see the outside. Think outside the box. Okay? Thank you, everyone.